Om Ajnanam Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So I heard that some of you have been doing meditation for 2-3 years and some of you for a couple of months. Right? So I would like it to be an interactive session mostly. So feel free to stop me at any point of time and ask me questions. And all of us are actually students. Okay, some of us are students for a few years, maybe 10 years, 20 years. Some of us are students for a few months. So I will try to answer based on whatever I know, and he may also add some points in between. Okay? If not, I will come back later if you have any specific queries. So let me ask you, what is meditation? Because you are doing regularly. So what is your idea of meditation? In one sentence, if you want to define it, in a few words.
Soul connection.
Okay. So you give the highest definition. Anything else?
Mind ke shanti karo.
Mind shanta kara. Very nice. Any other things?
Journey towards inner self.
Journey towards inner self. Okay. Nice.
Connecting with God.
Connecting with God. Very good. Actually, if you look into Encyclopedia Britannica, so they define meditation to be a series of techniques to achieve heightened spiritual awakening and somatic calmness. Okay. So if you look at these two terms, one term talks about spiritual awakening and the second term talks about somatic. Somatic means pertaining to the cells of the body, okay, the nerves of the body, organs. So it's purely physical. So of course it has both spiritual and physical aspects, and we'll try to see the connection between them. So meditation, in Sanskrit we call dhyana, and because all of you are practicing Ashtanga Yoga, so you know where dhyana comes, right? In the sequence. So first one is yama, second one is niyama, third one is asana, fourth one pranayam, fifth pratyahar, sixth dharan, seventh dhyan, and eighth samadhi. Right? So yamas and niyamas mean basic do's and don'ts. Right? They don't tell lie, don't steal, be clean, etc. Then asana means physical postures. Pranayam means breath control. Then pratyahar means, so that's quite complicated. Pratyahar.
He's a student. He's a
Please
teacher.
louder. Yeah.
He's a teacher. He's a yoga.
So he can also answer
Yes.
some of your questions.
He knows everything.
All of us are students, isn't it?
Pratyahara, I think, is like when you bring the senses inwards.
Exactly. So pratyahar means controlling the senses. Okay? Controlling the senses inward, because your senses are always trying to go out. You see a billboard, you see an advertisement, your eyes are bulging out. You want to grab it, right? If you pass by a restaurant, you smell nice food, you feel, oh, so many days I have not had this dish, so maybe you should try. So these kind of things, right? all the Pancha-indriyas are running towards their pleasure or gratification. And I'm not saying that that is bad. Some of it may be good or may be necessary, but you need to apply it intelligently. So that control is called pratyahar. And what is dharana? You must know, right? You are doing Ashtanga yoga. So any volunteer, what is dharana?
Concentration.
Exactly. Dharana means concentration. So, and the next step is dhyana, right? Meditation. So what is the difference between dharana and dhyana, concentration and meditation? Because meditation is also concentration, right?
Meditation going
Constant flow. And
Hmm?
constant flow.
Yeah, so it's the flow of dharana. That means you extend dharana. Dharana can be of any duration. Okay, dharana can be for a few seconds, few moments, few eye blinks, whatever. But dhyana means when you sustain that dharana for a long time, or as long as you want. So it becomes a flow of dharana. So that's dhyana or meditation. And there are many ways of doing meditation. So for example, there is something called transcendental meditation, where you focus or you sustain your attention on some mantras, right? You chant mantras either on japa beads or in your voice. You hum, make a humming sound, and you focus your mind on that. So you dharana means you contain your mind on that for a long time. Another way could be mindfulness meditation. Right nowadays it has become very popular in the West, particularly. It's nothing but our old vipassana. That means basically focusing your mind on your breath, different types of breath. So it's not exactly pranayama, because pranayama means it depends on how your breath changes, how you make pause and how you count. So it's more related to that. But when you talk about mindfulness meditation, it's all about awareness. So becoming aware of your breath initially, then becoming aware of your body, becoming aware of your mind, becoming aware of how you are different from your surroundings, your external. So it's about increasing your awareness slowly. So that's mindfulness meditation. And there are many different meditation techniques that you all know or you will happen to know. Then the Dharan, Dhyan and Samadhi, right? The last stage is Samadhi. So Samadhi means actually when you are at the platform of soul. So you identify yourself as a soul. So that's Samadhi. So now coming back to our main point, meditation and spirituality. So we understand what is meditation, right? So the next question becomes, for whom it is, right? Why, some of you already mentioned in the answer what is meditation. So if I want to summarize why we need to meditate. So meditation is one step in the Ashtanga yoga. And one point is important, that these 8 steps are like steps in the ladder. So you cannot take a higher step in the ladder without taking the lower step, right? You are supposed to brush your teeth, then take shower and then take meal. It's not the opposite, right? So there is a systematic sequence, and that's very important, because one step prepares you for the next step. For example, when you take shower, you have specific enzymes secreted in your stomach, right? That prepares your stomach for the food that you are going to intake. So if you take food and then take shower, it's going to create problems in your body. So similarly, in yoga also, in Ashtanga yoga, these steps, the sequence of the steps are very important. So yam, niyam, asan, pranayam, pratyahar, dharan, and then dhyan. So that means slowly you should move in this direction. So that's one point. And some of you already summarized why we need to do meditation. So basically, it's part of yoga, right? Ashtanga Yoga. And the word yoga comes from the word yuj in Sanskrit. Yuj literally means to link or to connect. So when we talk about linking or connection, that means we are talking about two entities. You cannot connect one entity with itself. It does not make sense. Connecting means there are two entities that are separate and then you bring them close together. Or you connect them by some wire or some medium. Right? So that something flows from one to the other. So you connect your house to your power station, to the power distributor. And you connect your mobile to the mobile tower. So what are these two entities that we are connecting? Okay. If someone is astic or believer in God, in the existence of God, for them this connection is connecting the soul with the super soul, or Atma with the Paramatma, right? Your individuality with God. If someone is Nastic or does not believe in the existence of God as an entity, as an individual, as a person, then for them this is connecting your internal energy with your external energy, connecting your inner world with your outer world, connecting your individual energy with the cosmic energy that is flowing in the universe. That means you feel the universe, you merge with the universe, right? That's also one form of connection. Now, this whole yoga process is about how to make this connection, all the rules and regulations that are there that will help you to connect. And interestingly, though in the title we did not mention the term religion, may I ask you what is the difference between spirituality and religion? Because we kept the title, I kept the word spirituality in the title, right? Meditation and spirituality. So some people say that, okay, I am spiritual but not religious. This is a common saying nowadays. Right? So what is your opinion about these two terms? Yeah, please.
First, everyone else.
Yes, firstly.
Okay.
I'll ask you.
Some of you should volunteer. Anyone?
Spirituality is about understanding the highest reality, whereas
Yes.
religion gives you the path to understand that reality.
Okay, nice. Yes. Yeah, now please.
No, like what I understand is like religion is religion is basically a certain structure, how you can go ahead comprising of some rituals and everything, some planned thing. And spirituality, you've got a certain is there, and it is like more connected, like God. It's not like connected with a certain name, Krishna or Rama or Shiva, like not a certain name or a form, but like spiritual is directly with God as God. Yeah.
Okay, that may be one understanding. So basically, spirituality comes from the word spirit, right? So in simple terms, spirituality means understanding that you are spirit and understanding the relationship of the spirit with the rest of the world, with the rest of the cosmos. Then you tend to understand, okay, the spirit is not the only thing, there is something called super spirit or super soul. So that understanding, that knowledge is the basis of spirituality, right? Now religion, we often think that they are social practices, okay, or human invented rituals, maybe to help to achieve some spiritual goal. Actually, if you split the word religion, okay, it comes from re plus legion. Legion comes from the Latin word ligere. Okay, from the same root, the word ligament comes. Okay, that we use in our medical science or biology. So the ligament, they connect your muscle tissues, right? You often hear that, okay, some cricketer or footballer has torn their ligament, okay, and some operation needs to be done. So it's fiber that connects to body parts. So religion means to re-ligare. Ligare means to connect and re means to again. So religion means to connect again. That means again the same thing as yoga. There are two entities. Maybe initially it was connected, but now that connection has been lost and we are trying to reconnect. Reconnect, so religion. So that's the actual real etymological meaning of religion. And the spiritual and the rituals and whatever other practices comes along with it, they are basically different paths or different ways of experimentation. So for example, say you are studying a subject called physics, right? So you study different mathematical equations, you study the formulas, you understand, but unless you go to the lab and do the experiment in hands-on manner, you don't realize the truth. Right? It becomes knowledge, but it does not become realized knowledge. In yogic terms, we call jnana and vijnana. So jnana means just knowledge or information. When it becomes realized knowledge, that means you experience it, you understand it, it becomes vijnana, vishesh jnana. So, unless you practice the theory, it becomes speculation. So, it is said that spiritual means spirit plus ritual. So, you have the understanding of spirit and then you follow the rituals, then it becomes spiritual. Otherwise, if you don't have the spirit and if you follow the rituals, then also it does not make sense. And if you don't follow the rituals, you have the spirit, then also it does not make sense. And one of our acharyas, Prabhupada, mentioned that philosophy without spirituality, without religion, is armchair philosophy. That means you sit on armchair and you talk nicely. So that's spirituality without religion. And on the other hand, religion without spirituality is like fanaticism. So you become focused on the rituals and you become fanatic. So we need both. Both are important. And in Vedic terminology, in Sanskrit, both spirituality and religion, they are expressed in a single word. We call it dharma. It's so nice because we don't separate the two, we don't separate the theory with the practice because they must go hand in hand, they must go together. So dharma also, if you split, it means it comes from three or dharan, that means our basic constituent, basic property, that which sustains us. And when we talk about property, property means the fundamental aspects, the core feature of a thing. So the property of water is liquidity, right? The property of fire is heat and light. So what are our properties or our dharma? Can anybody volunteer?
Body, soul and mind. Mission.
So it is explained that we have three properties. As I am mentioning that water, fire, they have properties. So we are basically spirit souls, and the soul is defined in terms of three properties. One is Sat or eternality. The second one is Chit or knowledge, and the third one is Ananda or bliss. Bliss. The Sat, Chit, Ananda. That's the real nature of the soul or the property of the soul. Right? So to realize it, to understand it and to practice it, that's our real dharma. That's living by our property. Right? Something has some property, but if that is not used for that property, then it's useless. So we have a common notion that perhaps this spiritual practice, this meditation, this yoga, all these things are meant for either old people because they have nothing to do in life, right? They have done all their activities, they have retired from their jobs, so they have enough time to spend on such things which cannot be seen with physical eyes. So that's one notion. Sometimes youngsters also may practice spirituality, and then we tend to classify that probably they are interested. So everybody should pursue their own interest, right? If someone is interested in sports, they should go for some sports kind of thing, right? To make their job, to make it their life. If someone likes to paint or likes to sing, then they should follow arts, right? If someone likes science, he or she should become a scientist, like this. So, if someone likes spirituality, if someone likes to know about God, then probably that person will pursue it even from childhood or from youth. So that's our common understanding. So, but do you think the same way? Do you think that that should be done? No. That's actually completely wrong. Completely wrong. Because what are we? We are not bodies having soul, right? We are souls having body. So soul is our fundamental entity. That's our reality, that's our real existence. And whenever we have something, everything has some specification. When you buy a laptop or let's say a handycam or a mobile, right? You look at its spec. You compare two different models. And when you buy a device like this, then you have a manual of the device, right? Either you know how to use it from your friend who has used the same model, or you read it up, you look into some videos in YouTube, and then you use it accordingly, right? So for example, if someone gives you a tab, let's say a tablet computer, you don't keep it on the table every morning and put your cup of tea on the tab. You don't use the tab as a plate to contain your tea, do you? So if someone does it, is it good? Is it useful? No, right? It will destroy the tab in the long run. Similarly, suppose you have a bike, right? You are going to ride your bike on the highway and you don't use helmet. You are supposed to use helmet. Then there will be accident, there will be disaster. So similarly, you know, the yoga philosophy or the yoga scriptures, the shastras that we have that describe the process of yoga, the process of spirituality, the adhyatmic practices, these are like manuals. Manuals for each and every individual human being. It's a manual for human beings, for us, for each one of us, for each spirit soul living within the body. And this manual is actually how the soul should journey within this body, from birth to death and beyond. So we have this device, we are given this device, right? So unless we use it as per the specification, as per the manual, then it's useless. It's like using the tab to drink tea. It's like, you know, riding a bike, maybe in the reverse order. You sit, you know, facing the back side of the bike. The handles are in your behind, and then you don't wear helmet. You don't have mirrors also, and then you ride the bike. So that's suicide. So the same thing. So if we do not follow spirituality or yoga or meditation in our life from childhood, or from the time when we have the knowledge, we are exposed to this knowledge, right? Then actually we are doing suicide, because we will meet disasters. And helmets are supposed to protect us when we have problems in life. So spiritual knowledge is supposed to protect us, right? So it's for everybody. That's first we must understand. So the thing is that when we practice it for the spiritual goal is mind, the next question comes, so that means do we ignore all the material activities? So 24/7 we think about God or we think about spirituality, we do yoga morning, noon, afternoon, evening and night. That's what we should do. No. So some people say that we first take care of the body and then when everything is nice, then we should do meditation, right? Some people say it's the opposite. Actually, because we are not primarily body and then we are acquiring soul, it's not like that. We are primarily soul and then we are having this body as a vehicle, right? To help the soul to continue its journey. Therefore, because primarily we are soul, because that's our fundamental reality, so spirituality is the fundamental thing, it's the must-to-do thing. Now, because we are matter also, at least in this form, presently, currently, so we must do material activities, but the material activities should be aligned with our spirituality, with our spiritual reality, right? So with spirituality primarily, secondarily we are body. And to do the bodily activity, to satisfy the body, to satisfy the desires of the body, that they are not bad. You have to do it, those are necessary for survival, but they must be done in line with the spirit. They must be done in a way, you can do it in two ways. One way of performing the same activities can actually help you to continue your spiritual journey, to continue to live as who you are, right? The other way of doing the same activity will actually move you further away from realizing your true nature, from what you are meant to be. So we must read the scriptures, we must listen from someone who knows the scripture, and we must practice the scripture. And practicing the scripture, one way of it is yoga and meditation. Then we can do the material activities. With that knowledge, we can do our material activities so that our spirituality is not hampered, because that is our fundamental reality, that is our existence. Otherwise, if we do our material activities away from our spirituality, it will bring disaster. You see, in our Vedic philosophy, there are 4 Purusharthas, right? Those are explained in the Shastras. Dharma, Artha, Kama and Moksha. And we all do it at some point of time in our life. Dharma is the first thing. Have you ever thought why it is first? Because we are spirit soul, that's our fundamental reality. Dharma, spirituality, connecting. Dharma, religion, reconnect. Connecting soul with super soul. So that connection, spirituality, meditation, yoga, these should be first. Okay? That's dharma. Then artha. That means you need to earn some money, you need to have some job to sustain the body. Right? And then kama. That means you marry, you enter to grihastha ashram, you have sex, you produce children, you give them spiritual knowledge, and then moksha, liberation, right? And if we see the ashramas also, right, the 4 ashramas, like brahmacharya, garhastha, vanprastha and sannyas, they are also made for spiritual activities. Right? We tend to think that, okay, in Vedic times, perhaps everybody used to do it, but nowadays only the brahmacharis who want to live in the temple or ashramas full time, or retired person like vanprastha, they will practice spirituality. But actually it is wrong. You know the meaning of ashram? These are called ashrams, right? What is ashram? In Sanskrit, ashram comes from the word ashraya, shelter. Ashram means hermitage or a place of shelter. or temple. So when you say brahmacharya ashram, that means the first 25 years of your life, when you are supposed to study scripture, you are supposed to study both material and spiritual science in order to know how things work within you and around you. Basically student life, right? That is also ashram. That means that is also a hermitage. When you are going to school and university, those are like temples. Temple of learning. In earlier days we used to go to Gurukul. Those were temples of learning. Nowadays we go to school, colleges and universities. Those are also temples of learning. Right? So, those are ashrams or hermitage. And we are supposed to do things, learn things there in connection with our identity, in connection with spirituality. When we enter Garhastha ashram, right? So Garhastha is also an ashram. When people get married and they live in a house together, right, as a couple. So Garhastha ashram does not mean you forget your spirituality and postpone it after your retirement. This is also an ashram, right? 4 ashramas. So that means your griha or home is also a temple. It's also a hermitage. It's a shelter. And Garhastha ashram means becoming in your conjugal life with your partner, with your family members, with your children, how you can practice spirituality together. That's the real meaning of Grihastha ashram. How to practice spirituality together with your family members. Okay. Then Banprastha. That's your retired life. So you give more time to spirituality, less time to material things. So whatever you need for yourself. And then the sannyas. So sannyas means sannyas. That means you leave everything else behind. You focus only on spirituality. So to become a sannyasi, it need not be that you need to go to Himalayas or hermitage. At a certain point of life, when you realize that I have come to the end of my life, then I need to leave everything behind, all my attachment behind. I need to focus completely on God. Then you can become a sannyasi at that point of your life, being at home also. So that's what is meant by the 4 ashramas. So we understand that the spirituality or religion or meditation or yoga, all these things are actually mandatory requirement, must to do entities, things for every individual. All other things come at the end. Now, unless we have some physical benefit or material benefit also out of these activities, because we are within this body, we don't find motivation or incentive to continue spirituality. Right? Because soul, spirit, these are quite abstract. We need a long time of practice, many years of practice to actually realize we are spiritual, to go to that level. So unless we have some tangible benefit, some ready-made benefits, we don't find incentive. And you see, these practices are defined, these practices are actually designed in such a way by great sages that it helps you to have material benefits and bodily benefits as well, so that you find enough incentive to carry on. So the sages were visionary. They knew that as the civilization progresses, as you know, from Shankar to Kali, when we come here, our mind will become more disturbed. Right? So we cannot focus on spirituality, and will become, enchanted by our material activities, by power, by money, etc. These will engross us. So unless we have material benefits, we cannot continue spiritual journey. So they designed the spiritual processes in such a way that they are applicable in all circumstances and for eternity. It's not that they are meant for old ages. For old ages, for now and for years to come, they are so much general. So what are the material benefits? So if you go to Harvard Medical School website, right, you will see that they have many articles and reports, many recent investigations that talks about what physical benefit you have when you practice chanting or meditation, yoga for a specific amount of time regularly. Right? So in 2015 I was seeing that there was a conference in Harvard Medical School about healing power of chanting and music meditation. Right? And they say that the diseases that were supposed to be incurable, for example, schizophrenia, okay? The nerve degenerative diseases, right? The disease that Muhammad Ali had, Alzheimer, Parkinson's, right? These diseases. So doctors say that they have no cure. Only you can do symptomatic treatment. That means you can give some medicine to actually reduce the stress, the discomfort of the body. But the nerves will degenerate. You cannot stop them. But recent researchers, have revealed that actually they can be improved. Right? Even if not completely cured, they can be partly cured, and their degeneration can be stopped with meditative practice. And not only that, in your day-to-day life, in your home, right? In your dealings with your family members, in your dealings with your office colleagues, in your dealings with your neighbors, we become disturbed, we become depressed, we feel so much anxiety, we face so many problems, we do not know what to do. Right? All of us are struggling. We have problems of the body in the form of diseases, right? We have problems of the mind in the form of anxiety and stress. So these things also can be alleviated. They can be reduced. They can be calmed down with the help of meditation and spirituality that you can experience immediately. Right? So, if you look up in the internet, you will see that there are studies. For example, I was looking into one professor called Sarah Lisa. She has got a grant from NIH to do this technique. So she has been doing MRI study of the brain, how it looks before meditation and after meditation. Okay? And you see that after regular meditation for a specific period of time, your brain structure actually changes. So in Harvard Med School website itself, I was reading an article. It says that 8 weeks of mindfulness meditation, 8 consecutive weeks of mindfulness meditation actually changes the grey matter in your brain. It increases the amount of grey matter in your brain. So it is a proven fact nowadays. Okay, so it can increase your intelligence as well. And if you are in any field, you go to any classical singer or any classical dancer, all of them do yoga and meditation. That's their practice. Before they practice their sadhana, daily sadhana, because that comes first. They prepare themselves first. They prepare their mind first, and then they enter into it. Right? If you go to a sports person, okay, nowadays it's becoming more and more popular. Any sports team, be it a football team or a basketball team or a cricket team, they have a yoga trainer along with their regular physical exercise. Otherwise they cannot perform well. So if you are a normal office goer, you are working in a company, let's say, then also if you do yoga and meditation, it's going to increase your intelligence, it's going to increase your decision making power, so it's going to increase your productivity. So one of my friends, he is doing full-time job of consulting multinational companies in the United States and to teach them how meditation can actually increase the productivity, profit of the companies. Okay. So these things are coming up. Institute of Managements, they are having courses on yoga and management. They are becoming mainstream nowadays because people are realizing that it's really going to help them. So it does not matter who you are a sports person or you are an artist, right? If you are an artist, then also if you do meditation, it's going to increase your concentration more. So you can paint better, you can enjoy the creativity that you are doing in a much more intense fashion. So you see that in every sphere of life, no matter who you are, what job you pursue, what activity you are doing, if you are a student, then meditation is going to help you in your studies also. For that research also, many investigations have been done with consistent results. So we must understand that spiritual practice and yoga and meditation, these things must go. We must do these things in our life. These are not something for only spiritually interested individuals. It's not like that. We cannot say that helmet is for someone who is interested in helmet. If you are riding a bike in the highway, it's a must, it's a necessary. So it is a must in our life. Okay? So I will stop here and I will take any questions that you may have and try to answer.
Please tell us about yourself and how you got into spirituality.
And I would like to please share the experience that you have been a subject in the...
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I was mentioning that all of us must practice spirituality, right? For me, I was lucky because from childhood I had inclination towards spirituality or spiritual practices. So I had interest. Okay, so if you have that, then you are lucky because it comes naturally. But in the class we discussed that even if you are not inclined, you are not interested, we must be educated, right? To know that this is the most important thing and we must practice it. So that thing is also there. But to answer the question, so from childhood, spiritual knowledge used to attract me very often. So when like my grandmothers and great-grandmothers used to tell me spiritual stories and morals from Puranas. Okay? So I grew up like that. And then when I was a student, I was very much influenced by Swami Vivekananda and Ramakrishna. So I read their entire complete works. So I was very much motivated by them. Then when I grew up, then I started to explore other philosophies as well. Rishi Aurobindo, then Vaishnavism, Sufism, Christianity. Then I found that actually all of them are talking about the same thing. These are the different labs, different institutes like Oxford University and Cambridge University will have different labs and maybe instruments made by different companies to do the same experiment, right? Just the spec is different, an HP laptop and a Dell laptop. That's it. So that increased my faith more in the process, right? So that's about how I got introduced, and I started it more seriously when I was doing my masters in United States. Then one of my friends asked me that, what are the 4 problems of life? Do you know the 4 problems of life? And that time specifically I did not know or I did not remember. So I was able to tell him maybe old age, disease and death. These are the 3 problems. The 4th problem I could not answer. Then my friend actually answered me that it's birth. Because birth is also a problem because of that you are having the other 3 problems, right? And the cycle of birth and death. But anyway, then he told me that there will be a Bhagavad Gita class weekly given by a monk, a practicing monk, who works also in a multinational company. So who has known how to integrate spirituality into your material activities. That person will give talk. His name was Ramanath Subramaniam. Then he was initiated as Rasanath Das. So he was my Shiksha Guru, so I used to attend his Bhagavad Gita class, and then I came to know that what is yoga and what you are supposed to do. Because if you read Bhagavad Gita, it's all about yoga, right? All the 18 chapters are different kinds of yoga. The first chapter is Visada Yoga, the yoga of depression, right? How you can connect to God when you are depressed. You see the symptoms of a lunar, right? The condyles falling from his hands shivering, sweating. These are all symptoms of depression or anxiety. And then if you turn to God, God will give you the strength to pursue. So in this way, all the chapters actually talk about how to connect to God. So that's also yoga. So anyway, that was the beginning. And then I started practicing yapa, meditation, and all these things. And you asked about my recent experience. So recently I came to know that in Jodhpur University, there is a center for music, C.V. Raman Center for Physics and Music. We had a professor in physics, Dr. Deepak Ghosh. He is now emeritus professor, so he has retired, and he has been head of that center. So he was a nuclear physicist, a particle physicist. He had worked for CERN project in Geneva. 40 years of his life he has dedicated for experiments on quantum physics and particle physics. So he's a hardcore scientist. And now last 10 years, actually, he has been doing research on how meditation and music in particular affects your body and how it affects. He's analyzing this using the mathematics of quantum mechanics. So his research scholars wanted to actually investigate that when I perform meditation or japa, then what changes happen in the brain. So I went to the lab with my chanting beads. So I was chanting for half an hour, and they have EEG machine with probes connected to different points in the brain. Then they took signals, the waves generated by the brain, and they analyzed it, and they found it that yes, certain waves which actually synchronizes your left brain and right brain, which makes you more cognitively aware, which increases your capability to experience. So the intensity of those waves actually increase when you perform meditation. Okay? So it's in particular alpha wave activity in the frontal region, those who are from medical professionals. So that increase, and the beta waves actually decrease. So that's the result that I had, and then I found out that these kind of experiments have been done in many places around the world, and you can see that all the results are consistent. Okay? They are consistent. In BBC, they had covered, one such experiment. They had an MRI scan of a Buddhist monk who was doing Buddhist prayers, and his brain also showed similar results. So these scientific experiments actually gives us faith that okay, this process is actually scientific and this process works for everyone. So any other question?
Sir, আমাদের awareness
louder please.
আমাদের যে consciousness by এটা awareness-টা এটা কি জিনিওলজি কোনো সম্পর্ক আছে? আমাদের ছিল বলে আমাদের এসেছে, কিন্তু আমাদের ছেলে মেয়েদের তো আসেনি। আবার এই যে রিলিজিয়ান সম্পর্ক, তার সঙ্গে কি কোনো রিলেশন আছে?
Actually, it has some relation. Okay. So when a soul enters a body, okay, during the birth process, that times, according to the past karma, the soul is destined to get a body. Even in the Bhagavad Gita, it is explained how one gets one next body, which family one gets. So that family lineage, that's actually your genetic mapping or genetic structure. So, and in this life you are in one family, in the next life you can be a different family, in fact in a different species altogether. So depending on your activities in one life, depending on how much spiritual knowledge you have gained in your one life, so your next life you will begin from that stage. it is explained that whatever material achievement that we have, so even if we have 10 PhDs, right, if you are lucky to be born as a human being again, if you are not born as animals, then again you have to start from ABC, right? That will not help, that will not carry forward. But these, the results of yoga, meditation, spiritual practice, whatever you achieve, so if you stop at, let's say, 7% in this life, you start from 8% in your next life. So you get a body, you get a genetic structure, you get a family, so that you can start from that percentage. If someone has completed 80%, that person will get a body, so that that person can begin from 81%, right? So definitely this genetic structure has an influence how we begin, right? So the starting point, that has an influence, but then we have our free will. Every soul has free will. Now we have the choice and the capacity and the ability to increase it beyond, right? So we can start at 80 and we can stop at 83 in this life. And we can start at 7 and 8 and we can stop at 90, or we can reach 100 in this life with the power of our free will and determination and continuous practice, right? So where we begin is predestined, right? And the initial phase, how we start. But then with regular practice and determinism, actually you can make your own destiny. So
just a second. We have a doctor sitting over here, and a psychologist. So why don't you ask some questions and then you can pass to it.
You can comment also. It need not be a question. You can comment.
I have the first one. How do you know, how do you realize that you are evolving spiritually after these practices?
So loud in the mic.
So, because like I've been doing meditation for quite some time, I can feel the changes inside me. Like you said, how you behave, how you interact with people, how things, what used to affect me initially, they don't affect me now that much. I'm not saying they don't affect me, but to that extent.
Right.
But then how do you know that I'm evolving spiritually? Any specifically, like you can just keep a ear that it's just for me, for my own personal that yes, I'm evolving, I'm going to be right.
So you answered your own question. Right? So the symptoms that you mentioned, that you are feeling less anxiety, your dealings with others have improved, you are feeling peace, more peace and calmness in your mind.
And that detachment.
Detachment, right? So those are the symptoms that you are evolving spiritually. So in our yoga philosophy and spiritual text, these symptoms are mentioned. Okay. So if I want to go into more detail, so our existence can be classified into 4 levels, right? So first level is the body, then the mind, then the intellect, and then the soul. So our deha, man, buddhi, and atma. So when we do not practice meditation, right, or we do not have enough spiritual knowledge, then all of these are mixed together. We try to identify with our body and mind. But the more and more we practice, we see that these are actually separated. In Kathopanishad, there is an analogy that the 5 senses, sense organs are actually the main ingredients of the body through which the body performs. The 5 sense organs are like 5 horses, right? So they pull you in 5 different directions unless they are controlled by rope. The rope is the mind, and the rope is supposed to be controlled by the chariot driver, who is the intelligence. And the chariot driver is supposed to be instructed by the charioteer. That means one who is the passenger of the chariot. That's the soul. So ideally, the soul is supposed to instruct the intelligence is supposed to filter the mind, then the mind is supposed to direct the senses. That's the way it should be. But nowadays it's the reverse. The senses pull us, wherever the senses pull us, the mind wanders, and then we use our intelligence how to achieve it. You know, your senses want to commit crime, okay, or a bad thing. Your mind meditates on that thing, okay, how to do it, how to achieve it, then your intelligence will give you all sorts of intelligence to do it secretly so that nobody knows, and you think, okay, I am clever enough, okay, I really achieved it, then you feel satisfaction. So your intelligence is going that way, and your soul is sitting idle, right, following that. But the more and more you practice sadhana, spiritual sadhana, right, so you will feel these symptoms that you explained, and also you will feel that your body, mind, intelligence and soul, they are becoming aligned properly. So you will feel that as a soul you have control over your intelligence. It's not that the sense organ will try to run around, but your mind will be above them to control. It's not that your mind will have bad thought. It's very natural. Even I have talked to sannyasis of different spiritual sects, and they have told that yes, it's very natural to have desires of mind, sensual desires of mind. That's also very natural. But because that's the nature of mind, to throw ideas. Every moment it's throwing hundreds and thousands of desires and ideas. But then you must have the intelligence. If the intelligence is above the mind, then the intelligence can act as a filter. Right? It will filter the good and the bad thoughts. Discretion. So it will reject the bad and it will use itself for the good, to achieve the good. And how intelligence will do it? Because of the spiritual knowledge. Because when you are feeding spiritual knowledge, when you are feeding meditation, that's actually touching the soul. Right? So the soul, with that knowledge, will instruct the intelligence, and you can experience this the more and more you practice spirituality. Okay? You can experience it within. It's an inner science, right? So it has to be experienced within. So we say that proof is in the pudding, right? So when you experience it, then you will, you'll be a living proof that it works.
So you need the mic or you can
louder?
Yes.
Sir, চতুরাশ্রম যেটা, চতুরাশ্রমে আগে যে ব্রহ্মচর্য পালন হতো সেটা অনেক কঠোর ছিল রাস্তা, কিন্তু এখন তো সেইভাবে হয় না। এখন চতুরাশ্রম হয়তো মানেন যারা, তারা ওইভাবে আগের যে ব্রহ্মচর্য পালনের যে শিষ্যরা প্রচন্ড কষ্ট করে করে চতুরাশ্রমের এই প্রথম পর্যায়টাই, এখন তো সেটা হয় না। তার থেকে অ্যাচিভমেন্টের দেরি হচ্ছে।
Achievement is being delayed. Actually, in the scripture, as I mentioned, that we have the wrong conception that the scripture is for ancient time, because people argue that they were written at that point of time for that particular society, but actually it is wrong, because if you read the scripture properly, it actually explains the entire time scale. It talks about not only Sattva Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapar Yuga and Kali Yuga, the Yuga that we are now. It not only describes the properties and features of each and every Yuga, not only the psychology of each individual, okay, the psychology of the general human beings in each Yuga. It not only describes that, but also it describes that how these 4 Yugas, they are called Mahayugas, right? How that also again repeats cyclically, okay? How the whole universe is created and destroyed. So this whole science is revealed there. Therefore it's for eternal time. And there also it is mentioned that yes, in Kali Yuga we will have less intelligence, we will have less focus of our mind. So accordingly we need to adjust our practice. So for example, in Sattva Yuga there was more stress. I mean, in Shastra it is written that the primary spiritual practice is meditation in the forest, or meditation in a secluded place, meditation in the mountains. So that's the primary thing. Of course, in Kali Yuga, certain individuals who have, achieved a lot of spiritual evolution in their past life, they can continue even in this life. We see many sages are doing it, right? But that's not for everybody in Kali Yuga. But in Sattva Yuga, almost everybody could do it. Then in Treta Yuga, the primary form of spiritual practice was yagya, or fire sacrifice. Okay, that time there was, there used to be proper brahmanas with brahminical qualities. In Bhagavad Gita, it is listed what are the qualities of Brahman. Okay, so the specification, the spec of Brahman. So you can check an individual if that is a Brahmana or not. So they could chant the mantras very properly. Nowadays, in fact, we do not know how to pronounce the mantras. Actually, I was attending a seminar by Dr. Govind Shrestha. So he is an electrical engineer. He worked in, electrical industry, power industry for his entire life. Now he is doing research in Sanskrit language and grammar. I was listening to his seminar, and he goes to different gurukuls in all over India, different villages, different schools where Sanskrit is being taught from the very childhood. In South India there are many schools where from age children learn these Vedic hymns. Okay. So he was telling me that there are 22 different ways to pronounce O. The first letter O, there are 22 different ways. So there are so many intricate details. If you want to pronounce mantras properly, nobody today knows. That those times they used to know. So with the power of the mantras, they could actually achieve many things. Okay? So Yagga was primary. It's not that today we do not do it. Today also it is doing. In fact, in IIT Kharagpur, one team was doing research. I was attending a seminar that these fire sacrifices and Yagga, they actually, reduce pollution. It's hard to believe it, but they showed it. So before Yagga, if the pollution level in some scale, let's say it's 1200, okay, during Yagga it increases up to let's say 1800 apparently, because there's a lot of fumes and smoke. But after the yoga it comes down to 600 or 700 the level. Okay, because the fume that goes up, that absorbs the dust particles in the atmosphere. It's a science. People from metallurgy department and chemical engineering department, they are doing research on this. So that is a known thing nowadays. But anyway, it was primarily it was meant for Treta Yuga. Then in Dwapar Yuga, the main thing was temple worship. So people used to go to temple and worship the deities, Archana, okay, Archa Vigra. And if you see what is the recommended practice for Kali Yuga, it says mantra meditation, or japa. Of course, meditation has many forms. There is one silent meditation. That means you sit and you just don't utter any sound. You try to restrict your senses. That is there, but that's difficult, much more difficult in Kali Yuga. Not everybody can do it. People with higher spiritual strength can do it. But mantra meditation is for everybody, for every mass. Okay? Chanting Vedic hymns. Mantra means manastrayate iti mantra, that which saves the mind. And it is said that you are not supposed to chant it loudly, you are supposed to chant it very softly and as much loudly as only you can hear. The person next to you may not be able to hear. And it is said that let's say you have a genie, right? Then the genie comes to you and says, okay, give me work. And you give the genie, okay, make me a 10-story building, it does it within a second, it comes, okay, give me work. So unless you are able to give the genie work, it's going to kill you. There is a story like this, right? So our mind is considered to be a genie. Every moment it needs engagement. It needs to do something. Unless you engage the mind, it's very difficult to control it, subdue it, without any activity. So silent meditation is good for Sattva Yuga, okay? For everybody.
Visualization, isn't you can visualize the white light and the golden light.
Yeah, that is also there. But so I was talking about mantra meditation. The effectiveness of it is that when you chant and hear, so basically you are keeping your mind focused. And the example is, say you tell the genie that from the first floor you go to second floor, and when you reach the second floor you come to the first floor, when you reach the first floor you go to the second floor. So then what happens? The genie has 24/7 work. When he reaches the first floor, he goes to second floor and again comes back up and down, so it's busy. It It doesn't bug you anymore. So the first floor is the mouth, from where the mantra is being pronounced, and the second floor is the ears, where you are hearing the sound. And the mind genie is actually trapped between that. So the way you are supposed to do mantra meditation is you are very attentively pronounce and very attentively hear. Focus on the sound. You don't have to think of God or anything. You just focus on that sound. You try to hear it clearly. And in fact, in Bhagavad Gita also it is mentioned that it is natural when you do meditation, any kind of meditation, whether mantra meditation or silent meditation or visualizing light, your mind will wander and go away. That's the nature of the mind. It will try to go away. It will try to escape. Okay, it's very natural, but if you are attentive, you can bring it back. Continuous abhyas. It goes, you don't get worried or stressed, you just bring it back. So then slowly with practice, you will see that it happens less frequently, wandering of